Recently at one of our farms, after the evening arati and kirtan, I went back to my cottage as usual. After dark, when I go between my cottage and the main village and temple area, I'm accompanied by two devotees going ahead. One carries a stick to bang, 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 bang again and again on the ground, and another a torch, a traditional kind of torch. What it is, it's a stick with a metal piece at the end with cloth wrapped around it, and the cloth is soaked in oil and set aflame, so it burns and you get a torch. And the banging of this other stick by the other devotee is to drive away snakes who hear the vibration through the earth and don't come near you. And you need a light to see where you're going, and also because there are snakes. I mean, it's not that there are snakes all the time, but they're not uncommon. So anyway, after the arati, I went back and arrived at the cottage, which is a little distance from the main village area. It's placed there so that I can concentrate peacefully on my writing, and it also has electricity, which we don't have elsewhere on our farm, so I can use my computer for typing. So I arrive back at the cottage in the evening, and usually what happens is just go around the back, enter from the backside, and one of the devotees puts on an electric light outside so I can see. So what happened when I reached this one evening, the devotee accompanying me with the torch just waited behind a little bit, and then I walked forward, and for about 3 seconds, the area in front of me, because the electric light hadn't come on yet, for a very short time, I was walking and I couldn't see the ground in front of me. And just as the light came on, I heard a cry of alarm behind me. I turned behind to see a snake slithering away. In the dark, I had stepped over it. If I'd stepped directly on it, it would almost certainly have bit me. And even stepping over it, it could have bit me, but it chose to slither away to its hole, which we found out shortly afterwards was quite close. And seeing the diamond shape design on the snake, I understood it was a Russell's viper, which is one of the most deadly snakes. It causes thousands of deaths annually in India. Although if you can get to a government clinic, which has government clinics spread throughout India in the villages, and among other things, they keep a anti-venom for injection because there are snake bites. So you get the anti-venom, and if you can get there within an hour, you have a good chance of surviving. Krishna bless me. I survived this time. I'm not going to survive forever. I have to leave the body sometime. But my first thought was that Krishna wants me to be alive for now, because for some months my health had been really pretty poor. And even though I have so much pending service to do that I wish to do before I leave this body, I was beginning to think, what's the use of struggling like this day after day? I can hardly do anything, and it's just a strain to be alive, and it's a burden on others also who are running behind me, making various arrangements to maintain this body, but I'm not doing much. But then, when I had that little brush with death, I thought, well, Krishna wants me alive. I could have stepped right on the snake, it could have bit me, but Paramatma arranged differently. Then the devotees accompanying went away a little distance and brought some device. It's very long tongs, which are specially meant for catching snakes. it's actually quite a use. It's designed especially for that, and you just catch the snake without having to go too close to it. So the devotees caught the snake, found its hole, and which was a little hole had been made by the devotees for some reason with a lid on it. So they saw it gone in there. They took the lid off, found the snake, took it out, put it in some kind of container, and then took the container several kilometers away and let out the snake alive. In much of India, traditionally, people in the villages kill snakes, especially poisonous snakes, because they are a threat to the life, not only of humans, but of cattle and other animals. Taking the snake and putting it out alive somewhere else is okay, but it transfers the danger of that snake to people in that area. Anyway, just tangentially, I recommend devotees or anyone else living on farms or rural areas where there are dangerous snakes, and that covers much of rural India. Don't get too afraid. It's not that everyone's getting bitten by snakes all the time, but it's like in the cities, there's a danger of traffic deaths. So in the villages, there's a danger of snakebite death. But as in the city, traffic deaths are not uncommon, but not very common. Similarly with snakebite deaths. Anyway, I recommend devotees or anyone else in rural areas where there are snakes to get such tongs for catching and removing snakes. It's safer to catch them with these tongs than to get a stick and try to kill them. I've seen in Bengal, even young boys in villages, they're often quite expert in killing snakes by beating them on the head, which isn't very pleasant. But modeta sadhur api vrishchika sarbahatya, as Prahlad Maharaj said to Nrsimhadev after Nrsimhadev had killed the snake-like demon Hiranyakashipu, even a saintly person becomes pleased by the killing of a scorpion or a snake. Another thought came to my mind, obvious thought, just after this incident, was padam padam yadvipadam natesham. At every step in this world there is danger. It's plainly true when walking in rural areas, especially at night in India and countries where there are dangerous snakes roaming around. I remember in Bangkok, Krung Thep in Thailand, where I lived for some time in the 1980s, even in the city, big, huge city, there were so many snakes. And when the city flooded, which it generally does on every full moon day or night, in the house we were staying in, because the city's below sea level, so the whole city would flood, the waters would come in. And in the house we were staying in, you get snakes swimming around on the ground floor. Thai people, one of the things they eat is snakes. And they also eat scorpions, spiders, and all kinds of insects and bugs, which they fry alive on the street. They have a whole jar and they empty it into a jar of live grasshoppers, which they empty into a karai, a wok full of hot oil. It stinks and people love to eat it. Little snack, which seeing that just you get some realization. One thing is, for lack of Krishna consciousness, people can descend to very low levels. And another thing is, you don't want to be a grasshopper. Better chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead. Anyway, back to this incident, just this one little incident, and a brush with death can make you start to think a lot. So another thought I had is that a little inattention, even for a moment, can cause disaster. I was talking about road accidents. So many road accidents are caused by people looking at their phone when driving. It may be just even for a couple of seconds. It may be that they're looking to see, they have the route map on their phone and they're looking to see what it is, or they look at some advertisement. It's a standard thing to have billboards along the roads, but it's actually very dangerous because they try to get your attention, but the attention of the driver should be right on the road. And someone may say, well, I've been driving for 40 years, I never had an accident. They become complacent, and in 40 years I never had an accident. They think I can never have an accident. But thousands of people are killed in road accidents daily. None of them get up in the morning and think, today I'm going to have a road accident. It's always unexpected, and it happens again and again. And even without accidents, we can die anytime unexpectedly. If someone's old and in poor health, it's not surprising if they conk out. But we can be in seemingly perfect health. You could have even just had a medical checkup and everything clear, no problem. And you're just going about your daily activities and then suddenly drop dead. It happens. So we have to train ourselves to think of Krishna. Perfect Krishna consciousness means thinking of Krishna all the time. We want to train ourselves to think of Krishna all the time because at the moment of death, we want to remember Krishna. Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasyatra sangshayaha. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita that if we think of him at the time of death, we'll certainly go to him. But most of the time we don't think of Krishna. Inattention is not thinking of Krishna, is our unhealthy habit, which we've had for countless lifetimes. And now, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and all the pure devotees, we are cultivating Krishna consciousness, but we are not in Krishna consciousness. That's why we're trying to cultivate it. And even when chanting the holy names, we're inattentive, even though we know it's offensive. It's such a beautiful opportunity Krishna gives us to link with him via his holy names, Bhakti Yoga, linking by devotion, but we don't take advantage, or rather, we spurn the opportunity. We have to cultivate being constantly attentive. I'm going to read from Srila Prabhupada's purport to Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 5. No one should think of himself as a liberated person, immune to the influence of Maya. Everyone should very cautiously execute devotional service by rigidly following regulative principles. Thus he will remain fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Otherwise, a little inattention will create havoc. We have already seen an example of this in the case of Maharaja Bharata. Maharaja Bharata was undoubtedly a great devotee, but because he turned his attention slightly toward a small deer, he had to suffer 2 more births. One as a deer, and another as the Brahmana Jara Bharat. Afterward, he was liberated and went back home, back to Godhead. The Lord is always prepared to excuse his devotee, but if a devotee takes advantage of the Lord's leniency and purposefully commits mistakes again and again, the Lord will certainly punish him by letting him fall down into the clutches of the illusory energy. In other words, theoretical knowledge acquired by studying the Vedas is insufficient to protect one from the clutches of Maya. One must strongly adhere to the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. Then one's position is secure. A quote from Srila Prabhupada's lecture on Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 19, given on June the 15th, 1972, in Los Angeles. Srila Prabhupada said, "If you are passing through thorns, you must be very careful. Otherwise, the thorns will be stuck up with your garment and you will be inconvenienced. It is said in the Vedas, Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya." Just like we shave with a razor. The razor is very sharp, so if we can carefully handle the razor, we get our cheeks very cleansed. That business is done. But a little inattention, immediately cut, and there will be blood. A little inattention. That example is given. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgang patastat kavayo vadanti. The path of salvation is very difficult. Just like we are trying to go back to home, back to Godhead, Krishna, the path is very difficult. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam. Durgam means very difficult to pass over, but a little attention will save you. A little attention that I am passing through a very dangerous way, so I must be very careful. So our attention should always be how we are executing our spiritual life. This is very simple. We observe strictly the regulative principles and chant 16 rounds minimum. That will save us. But if we become inattentive to these principles, then there is a chance of being pricked by the thorns. There are so many thorns all over. Or the same example, Kshurasya dhara, you shave, make your face very cleansed, but a little inattention immediately produce blood. We shall be very careful. That's the end of that quote. The point is, always, we have to be very careful. We can fall from Krishna consciousness at any time. Ajamil was doing his religious duty by going to the forest for collecting flowers for worship. He had never sinned in his life, but suddenly he was confronted by Maya very powerfully, and soon he left all his religious duties and became most sinful. And there are so many examples, not even going back to Puranic times, right now in this world today, so many examples of devotees, their attention being diverted. It may be in a moment, they suddenly fall, or it may be that their attention, they're not very attentive, they become slack, and then gradually they become weak and they succumb to Maya. So we have to be attentive. That's the point. Watch the mind, catch the mind when we observe it's dragging us away. Yato nischalati manas chanchalam asthiram tatas tato niyam yaitad atman yeva vashandayet. This is Lord Krishna's advice for yogis, relevant for bhakti yogis also. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, chanchala, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotir gamaya mrityur mamritam gamaya om shantihi shantihi shanti.